Have you ever dreamed of packing your bags, saying goodbye to your daily routine, and teaching in a far-off land? Today, we're diving into the exhilarating world of teaching abroad and the thrilling, yet sometimes daunting process of graduate school admissions, with our episode titled From Tokyo to Timbuktu, Adventures in Teaching Abroad and Unlocking Grad School Secrets. So grab your coffee, settle in, and get ready for a conversation that's sure to inspire. You won't want to miss what's coming up next on the Ed Talk.
Welcome to the Ed Talk with your host, Jeremy Brooks. At the Ed Talk, we are uniting education's top thinkers and leaders. The Ed Talk is America's true education talk show.
Picture this. You wake up to the serene sounds of a tropical island, the historic charm of a European city, or the vibrant hustle of an Asian metropolis. Instead of your usual drive to your local school, you're heading to a classroom where the culture is as rich and diverse as the subjects you teach. Teaching abroad, it isn't just about a change of scenery, it's about immersing yourself in a new way of life, learning as much from your students as they learn from you. It's about those moments when you realize you taught a class in a language that was foreign to you just months ago, or when you see the pride in your students' eyes as they master a new concept. Today, we're incredibly fortunate to have Michael Daly with us, an educator who has not only experienced the thrill of teaching abroad, but is also currently working in the complex world of graduate school admissions. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Jeremy. It's great to be here and share some of my experience and insight with your audience.
Awesome. We are so thrilled and excited to have you here. Mike, teaching abroad, it's, for a lot of people out there, it really seems like a dream for many educators, but few actually take the plunge. You did that. And I want to know what inspired you to teach abroad, and what country did you end up teaching in? What was your destination?
My destination ended up being Japan. So one of the classes I took was Japanese. So in that class, I got to have conversation partners with other students from Japan who happened to be taking that class as well. I got to learn more about, their country, their culture, their background. And of course, I was picking up some language along the way. So kind of combining work circumstances with the fact that I was learning these wonderful things about this country that was, kind of growing in interest to me, kind of led me to an opportunity to go teach English.
One of the best parts of teaching in a different country, it must be the rich cultural experiences. Can you share a memorable cultural experience that you had while teaching in Japan?
Actually, the first week that I had moved there, I moved there during the middle of the summer, and it was during summer vacation, so there was no school or no work for me to immediately do. And I find myself in this brand new country wanting to just explore and absorb everything that I can as fast as I could. So at the time, I was living in a very small town, and I really wanted to experience big city life. It was on the southern island of Kyushu, and so there's not a whole lot of big cities in that part of Japan, but I did know that on that same island was the city of Nagasaki. I asked the owner of the school if he could help me buy a train ticket from where we were living to Nagasaki, which was a 4-hour one-way trip. And he did the great favor of buying me a one-way ticket there. So it was up to me, once I got there, to find my way back with whatever little resources and whatever little Japanese I had up to that point. Well, once I arrived in Nagasaki, I was like, oh, this is great. This is wonderful. I'm going to have such a great time. Well, little did I know in advance that there was a huge typhoon that was set to hit the island at that exact
Oh,
spot at that exact time.
wow. Oh my
So I
goodness.
find myself with a one-way ticket far away from where I was living, in a town that is quickly closing up to weather this big storm coming by. And I had to figure things out. I had no hotel reservations. I didn't know where to go from the train station or anything else. And so I had to use my own wits, and little Japanese, that I had at that point to figure out where to stay in a safe spot and where to get something to eat. Fortunately, I was able to kind of cobble things together and do that. But then the next day, after I had done my sightseeing tour and everything and was ready to come back, I realized that I had no idea of how to buy a train ticket to get back home. And so in most Japanese stations, they have a big display screen, and then they also have what looks like an old telephone book. That's the train schedules, all in Japanese. And so I was walking around the train station trying to figure out something familiar and trying to maybe communicate what I needed to do to get back home. And I was having a lot of difficulty, but there was a gentleman who saw me in the midst of this struggle, and he came up to me in his limited English, and he offered to help me buy the ticket to get home. And so he walked me through the whole process, helped me talk with the train conductor, find out where I needed to go, how much money it costs, and he helped me get home essentially. And so that was something that I'd never experienced in my life, and something I've never experienced here in the States anywhere I've traveled. And it was an enormously generous and unnecessary thing that he did, but it made a great impact on me, especially being new to the country. I thought, wow, I've really landed in the right place.
Wow. And how brave of you to actually go off in an adventure like that in a new place that you'd never been, different language, different systems, and to try to find your way back. And by the way, you got to tell me real quick about that typhoon. I mean, it sounds like things worked out well. How did that exactly turn out? Was it as bad as people thought?
Well, it was, my first typhoon experience, so I had nothing to compare it to, but it was certainly a blustery wind and rain that was passing through. I experienced a much larger typhoon a little bit later in my Japan experience, but that was a good initiation into the country and its climate system.
My understanding, by the way, speaking of just what an incredible education system they have in Japan, my understanding is that school in Japan, it used to be 6 days a week up until around the 1990s, and now it's 5 days per week, but there are still a lot of schools that offer a 6 day week option. And my understanding is that many students in Japan do take up that opportunity to do 6 days a week. And it's also kind of an interesting thing, too, that Japan does have a little bit of a shorter summer vacation compared to American counterparts. They attend school 240 days per year, which is about 60 more days more than students in the United States. So their dedication to education is quite intense. And besides those points, what were some of the differences that you noticed between schools in Japan and the United States, and what lessons can we learn from those differences?
The schools in Japan, to what I could observe, did not have janitors or people who went around cleanup. That was the job of every student in that school. So during break times, what would normally be recess, where our students would go out and have fun or have a snack or something, those kids were at work, sweeping the hallways, cleaning the bathrooms, and then getting right back into the classroom. So that was an interesting thing to observe on a daily basis.
Wow.
That's definitely one of the things that stood out the most. One of the other things I think that really stood out for me was, the intensity, like you mentioned, of studying, the commitment to studying there. When I was there in the mid-90s, it was very much universal 6 days a week, starting from the junior high level on up through high school. The reason for that was basically because there was such a push for each student to get into the best possible school there in Japan that they possibly could. And that determination was not necessarily made in the same way that it's made here, where you have your grades and you have your extracurriculars and you have your community service and other things. It was almost solely based upon the national university exam that's only given one time a year. And so if you do well on that exam, you can get into one of the top universities in Japan. And then that pretty much sets the course of your life, your professional life from that point forward. If you don't pass the exam, you either have the choice of taking the score and getting into the school that you're given, essentially, or you have to wait another whole year to retake that exam and hopefully improve your outcome.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so they have in the Japanese system, they have what are called cram schools. These are usually private after-school programs that serve to further enhance the learning that the students starting at the junior high level will get in addition to their junior high curriculum to help prepare them to take entrance exams into the best possible high school. And also once you get to the high school level, there are cram schools or cram school programs for high school students who then are studying for the national exam to get into the best possible university.
Wow, that's interesting. And by the way, what a place to choose. I mean, you couldn't have been in more of a fascinating country with their education system. It's so interesting. Japan, it's one of the countries that has one of the highest literacy rates in the world, nearly 100%. I don't think they're quite at 100%, but they're really close to 100% literacy. Their commitment to education is truly remarkable. I mean, you must have noticed that too as you were there, right?
I did, notice some very distinct differences between the roles or the positions that teachers had in the classroom there versus my experiences here in the States. Teachers there are very, very revered. And you generally don't have discipline problems like you do in a lot of classrooms here in American schools. So that was one difference that was very pleasant for me to discover, because certainly being having to discipline students in language that I did not have even partial control over would probably have done me in. But thankfully, they were very helpful to me in kind of bridging the communication gap. And we learned together. I taught them English, they taught me some Japanese. And so it was a very helpful experience, a two-way helpful experience in that regard.
It must have taken a lot of courage and preparation. I mean, maybe tell us about that. And also, was there a particular moment or experience that really solidified your decision?
The sense of adventure that it would get me to that point overrode fear or apprehension that I was having in doing that. The type of preparation I did was try to learn as much as I could about the culture and the language before going there, so I could go in at least with some foundational knowledge.
Did that experience in any way, did it impact or shape your perspective as an educator? Did it influence your teaching methods as you were getting ready to go back and getting ready to teach?
Yes, it informed a whole lot of things, not only in my teaching life, but also in pretty much every aspect of my life that I can consider important. It was a really, really transformative experience in a lot of different ways. It gave me the gateway to my, career in education, which I certainly did not expect to have one up to that point. Again, kind of going to teach in Japan was a little bit of a lark that came out of need and opportunity. But I learned very quickly as I started teaching and started developing myself as a teacher, basically being self-taught. This was before the internet, where we got to learn all these different resources that would help us, certainly before AI, kind of figuring things out on my own and just being empathetic to my students at the various levels that they were at, and trying to figure out how I could help them get to where they needed to be. I think that informed my management style, that I eventually landed into management roles in education once I came back.
Well, it sounds like it really did have a huge impact, and it broadened your perspectives and your outlook on things, which is incredible. And oftentimes, it seems like that's what travel does, right? Now, I wanted to ask you before we move on to our educator spotlight segment, one more final question on this topic. Do you have any advice for anyone who's maybe thinking about taking the next step and that leap and maybe teaching in a new place? Do you have any suggestions for them, or anything that you could share that can help them prepare?
Well, definitely, I would recommend utilize a tool that was not available to me at the time, which was the internet. If I had that at my disposal, I'm sure that some of the bumps along the way that I experienced, even initially, probably would have been a lot lighter had I had the opportunity to do deeper research and maybe more preparation linguistically, especially before I went there. I would have been able to experience more because that language gives you kind of a inside step into the culture that surrounds you at the time. One of the, I guess, the takeaways from that typhoon experience was, and the fact that I, only went there with a one-way ticket, was I decided to kind of embrace the struggle and the anxiety that I felt, not knowing how to get home, something very, very fundamental and basic for an adult at that point. It caused me a lot of reflection on, okay, how do I continue to have these kind of adventures and experiences in this wonderful country, but be able to do it more autonomously or independently through my own, skills. So I made a commitment to myself after that experience that I would learn enough Japanese within 6 months to be able to do a similar solo trip like that to another place without using a dictionary at the time. And so I stuck very much to that goal, watched as much Japanese TV as I could every day, wrote down every word that I didn't understand so I could learn it and implement it in my own communication. I tried to integrate myself into the community as much as I could and utilize whatever skills and knowledge that I was acquiring as quickly as I could. So within 6 months, I was able to actually take a solo trip without, I intentionally left my dictionary back at the house and went on my way and just used what I had acquired up to that point to do everything that I wanted to do, see everything that I wanted to do, talk to everybody in the way that I wanted to talk, and just have a wonderful, wonderful experience. So
I think it's incredible that sense of adventure that you really created for yourself in both of those instances, where before you went to a new place and got that one-way ticket, and then now you're leaving the dictionary home. That's amazing. And your journey, it really is. It's so inspiring. And it offers so much for educators considering similar paths. Stay tuned, everyone. We have more exciting questions and discussions coming up with Mike Daly right here on the Ed Talk, right after the Educator Spotlight. It's time for our favorite segment here on the Ed Talk, the Educator Spotlight, where we shine a light on an outstanding educator making a difference. Today, we're shining a light on someone who plays a crucial role in maintaining a safe and clean learning environment, a custodian, Jose Arellano, affectionately known as Joe by his school, students, and staff. Joe's the head custodian at a high school campus, and his dedication to cleanliness, safety, and maintaining a school environment that's clean is second to none. He's known for being one of the most responsive members of the school staff. He's always quick to address any issues that arise. And what truly sets Joe apart is his incredible generosity and sense of community. Recently, Joe, he donated a significant amount of his vacation days to another head custodian in the district who is out on medical leave for a major health concern. That act of kindness, it speaks volumes about Joe's character and his dedication to helping others. And Joe's widely regarded as one of the best custodians in the district. And those who nominated him mentioned that they are incredibly fortunate to have him on their team at their school site. His unwavering commitment and tireless efforts make our school, they say, a better place for students and staff alike. Thank you, Joe, for all that you do. Your hard work, it does not go unnoticed, and we're grateful for your contributions to your school community. Stay tuned, friends, because up next, we'll be continuing our inspiring interview with Mike Daly. Don't go anywhere. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and focus on a topic that's close to Mike's heart and current line of work, graduate school admissions. Now, while you're contemplating the exciting parts of teaching abroad, as we discussed earlier, let's switch gears and talk about another significant step in an educator's career, graduate school admissions. Deciding to pursue a graduate degree can feel like embarking on an epic quest. You're not just signing up for more classes, you're investing in your future, opening doors to new opportunities, and maybe even setting the stage for a career that could take you around the world. However, that path to grad school, it can be sometimes paved with myths and misconceptions. Some think it's about having the highest GPA or the most impressive resume, but guess what? Admissions committees, they're looking for more than that. They're looking for passion. They're looking for purpose and a clear vision of your future. It's like putting together a puzzle where every piece of your application, it tells a part of your story. But let's not forget about the dropout rates. It requires perseverance and good support system. Mike, you've been helping students to navigate this complex process. So let's get into it. Graduate school, it can be a game changer for many professionals, especially in education. But deciding whether to take that leap, it can be a little daunting. So, Mike, what advice would you give to someone considering whether to pursue a graduate degree, especially in education?
I applaud anybody who is interested or even somewhat thinking about getting into education because in my mind, it is such a noble profession. The impact that you can make on people's lives, whether you're a kindergarten teacher, third grade teacher, 12th grade teacher, or even a professor in university, the impact that teachers have is very, very significant. And you can literally influence the trajectory of the rest of that person's life once they have had you as their teacher. I can think of a number of teachers throughout my education, both before and during college, that have made significant impacts and made me see my world in much different, more positive ways, or ways in which I saw more possibilities ahead of me. And so this is the impact that teachers can make in individual lives. And it's so important to have dedicated people, more dedicated people in the field of education in various capacities in which their service makes an impact.
You know, and I think for a lot of people out there, there's sometimes, it can be a little bit of a mystery. There can unfortunately be some myths surrounding grad school admissions and the process. What are some common misconceptions that students seem to have about the graduate school admissions process?
I get a lot of that. I get a lot of that every single day. Some of the big ones are that the process of getting into graduate school is something that is insurmountable, or something that they have no idea of what to do or how to do it. When in actuality, in most cases, it's something that they have done already. It doesn't vary greatly from the process that they were able to do fine on getting into their first or second undergraduate experience. The application process is greatly simplified, and we try to make it as student-friendly and user-friendly as possible. So it is anything but a daunting process. But for those folks who have any kind of questions about, how to fill out an application or how to make it a strong application, we have a lot of resources. We do a lot of different workshops to help them through that process and help answer their questions and put some of their unease or anxiety at rest.
But those are some really eye-opening points that you mentioned, especially surrounding some of the myths and misconceptions out there. And I'm glad to hear that you share with students that it's not as daunting as maybe they may think. It sounds like there is a little bit of a process there. How can students best prepare to maybe avoid some of the pitfalls of graduate school admissions?
When they are going out and researching different types of programs at different institutions, it's really important and really, really helpful for them to reach out directly and contact directly the admissions advisor for the program that they are interested in learning more about and possibly applying to. The admissions officer, that person's main role is to demystify the process, the application process, and to give a transparent account of what it is that the program is offering, what are the expected outcomes of that, and also what it's going to take in terms of time, in terms of effort, in terms of abilities to be successful in that program. And so if you are able to develop a direct line of communication and a frequent communication strategy with those admissions officers, your experience through the application process will definitely be easier, but I think you'll have a much better sense of what it is that you are actually applying to and potentially committing 2 or more years of your life and no small amount of money into investing in yourself. So it's always best, something of this magnitude in terms of, again, time and money, that you're investing as much effort in getting all of your questions answered in order to know if it really truly is the best program for you. And many schools offer business programs, but almost no two are designed exactly alike, and no two will you have the same exact experience. So it is important to compare and contrast and see which of those programs best fits, your style, your abilities, your time, your money, and also what you're looking to get out of that program.
That's really good advice. And one thing that I wanted to mention too is just, and this is why it's so important to consider all these things, is the dropout rate for graduate school programs. It can be quite high. I've seen some estimates that it's between 35 and 35%, as high as estimates go all the way up to 50% dropout rate for some institutions and or programs. Now, when you compare that to high school, nationally it's around 5%, and among people earning a BA degree, it goes up a little bit more. I've seen some figures that are around 25%, which really puts into context just how many Americans are actually dropping out of graduate school. Millions of Americans drop out every year. So again, back to graduate school, the dropout rate being sometimes as high as 50% by some estimates. Why do you think the dropout rate, Mike, is so high? And what can students do to stay motivated and on track?
Depends upon a lot of institutional factors, but also it depends upon the individual factors as well. There are usually most people who come into graduate school, they're a bit older, and they have started to get more responsibilities in their life. They are, usually independent of their parents, and so they're supporting themselves, and likely they're also supporting a family. And with that comes responsibilities. It also comes with unexpected situations that may take precedent over anything else, including school. And so, there's a number of different things, but things that can help to keep the students in school. Those are, having, barring any external, unexpected circumstances, keeping them kind of focused and doing well in their graduate programs. I think it starts with having a strong why. Why are they there? And what is the strength of that why? Is it something that's going to help them psychologically transcend any kind of bumps in the road, self-doubts, imposter syndromes, or maybe fatigue that may set in during the course of that program? And that why question is going to be different for every individual person, of course. People go into graduate school for a variety of different reasons. They may want to do it for gaining additional knowledge or additional skills so that they can raise their career profile. Maybe they do it to gain additional social capital. additional financial capital, if they have family to support. It can come from a variety of reasons. But having a strong why, I think, at least from what I've seen and what I've experienced personally, being a graduate student, working and supporting family, having a strong why is usually a very strong anchor. It's something in those moments of doubt and moments of fatigue or moments of stress or anything else that may, kind of take your attention away. It's something that will kind of be an anchor, something that will hold you where you want to be and help you continue on that journey until you eventually reach that success or the completion that you've invested in yourself through that program.
Yeah, and you make such a good point too about the demographics. Looking at the typical graduate student, the average graduate student, yeah, a little bit older and independent, right? And they do have themselves to support. And when you consider, as you mentioned, life, it happens. And I especially appreciate that perspective too on looking at the why. And I appreciate that story you shared, or the personal example that you provided about having your why as your anchor. And, that is really key. And then also just staying motivated. And again, just are there any other personal strategies or stories from your own experience that helped you to stay the course in your experience, maybe a cohort experience?
I see where you're going with this. Yes, I am very, very fortunate to be part of a wonderful, very tight-knit cohort in my current doctoral program. It is a great, tremendous source of support outside of my personal network of support, but it is something where we can rely upon each other, trust one another, and motivate one another when we see the need for that to happen. We're very in tune with what seems to be happening. We're very open and vulnerable with one another, and I think that creates that bond that helps that support system to be as strong as it is.
Wow. Sounds like that could be a good model for other schools out there across the nation as well. And
I don't know why it's not.
Yeah. Sounds like a great cohort you have there.
It is.
Balancing grad school admissions with personal life. Again, it can feel like you're sort of juggling flaming torches. And how can students really balance the demands of graduate school with their personal lives and maybe other commitments too?
For those who are in different family situations, they have to find out for themselves where the balance is. Obviously family comes first in all situations. So how much time, you have to kind of figure out what is the necessary commitment to your program and what is the necessary commitment to your family, to your work, to your community, other things that are important in your life. And, making priorities and making, very firm boundaries with those priorities. And, if you keep those boundaries in place in the order in which they should be important to you, that usually keeps things going relatively smoothly. If you have a family situation, for example, and you have to step back from your graduate school studies, at least for a little bit, that's okay. And it is the way that you should handle things, I believe. I think that there's definitely something that is very important in the element of self-care, as well as, you're taking care of other people in your family or at your work or whatever have you. Sometimes the last person you take care of is yourself. But if you don't take enough good care of yourself, you're not going to be in a good position to take very good care of anyone else that is important to you. So being self-aware is very, very important, and knowing, again, what those priorities are, what your boundaries are going to be when you add a graduate program into your life, and kind of keeping those things in order and in balance, I think is going to be very helpful in weathering any kind of challenges that may come along during this graduate school journey.
Well, that's such good practical tips about finding the right balance. And of course, I actually share that too with others if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. So it's really important to strike that right balance and to make sure that you are engaging in self-care. Mike, fantastic job. Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing your insights and experiences with us. Your journey, it's just so fascinating, and it's been so much fun to learn about. And again, you teaching abroad, so inspiring, and thank you for what you do for all those students out there looking to pursue graduate studies. Again, incredible work, and we appreciate it so much. Up next is our education showcase, where we feature remarkable resources and tools, and then we're going to have our final word segment with Mike. He's going to stay with us, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Ed Talk. It's time for one of our favorite segments, the Education Showcase, where we highlight incredible resources for educators. Today, again, we've looked at teaching abroad and graduate school admissions, and we've got some resources and some tools, whether you're looking to expand your horizons by teaching in a new country or gearing up to apply for graduate school. We've got you covered. We have some fantastic resources to share, so let's dive in. First up, I want to mention the Fulbright Teacher Exchange Program. And it just so happens that in our most recent episode of the Ed Talk, we actually had a Fulbright educator on our show. The Fulbright Teacher Exchange Program, if you're interested in teaching abroad, it's sponsored by the United States Department of State. And Fulbright, it offers a variety of teaching exchange programs. These programs, they provide educators with opportunities to teach abroad while fostering cultural exchange. Now imagine living in a country, sharing your knowledge, and learning from different educational system. You can find more information about Fulbright Teacher Exchange Program at their website, fulbrightteacherexchange.com. Now, let's also take a look at another fascinating and incredible program, Teachers Without Borders. This organization, it connects teachers to information and to each other to help become global leaders in education. They provide free resources and courses for educators who want to make an impact abroad. If you're looking to be a part of a supportive network while teaching internationally, check out their website, Teachers Without Borders. It's an incredible opportunity and a great organization. We'll mention a couple others. The Peace Corps. This is a fantastic opportunity for educators. Their education programs, they're interesting because they allow you to teach abroad in various subjects, from English to science to math, all while promoting cross-cultural understanding and development. It's a unique chance to contribute to communities around the world, and to learn more about these opportunities, check out their website, Peace Corps Education Programs. One more, and then we'll move on and we'll look at graduate school admissions. Another great resource, it's the Council of International Education Exchange, CIEE. They offer teaching programs around the world, providing resources, support, information for educators interested in teaching abroad. Whether you're a new teacher or an experienced educator, CIEE has something to offer for you. Visit their website to get more details. CIEE Teach Abroad. Now, I also want to go ahead and cover graduate school admissions, and I want to go ahead and give Mike an opportunity to share a little bit too, real fast, some resources or ideas or opportunities that he might have present for you as well. Mike, go ahead.
My role here at University of the Pacific is as a graduate admissions director, and specifically I work in helping students who are interested in pursuing health careers get into one of our health science programs at the graduate level. So we offer a very wide diversity of different healthcare careers both at the doctoral and the graduate level. And one of the things that I really value in my job is my ability in my position to be able to talk to students in the first conversation in their journey towards applying and getting admitted into these programs. I see that they do amazing work. These programs are generally cohort-based, so they are very tight-knit programs, and this really helps students in these programs do very well in them. And the students are given a tremendous amount of clinical experience with the very vast network of clinical partners in the health care field in the Sacramento and Stockton area. And so I just see tremendous things happening. And also, a lot of our programs are recipients of some very generous grant money, which helps both with student scholarships as well as loan forgiveness programs to help more students get into the field of healthcare in underserved areas that we are a part of.
I mean, what are some of the pathways, by the way? Is it nursing? What are some of the career pathways your program covers?
Absolutely. So we have audiology, which is a doctoral program, which is based at our San Francisco campus. We have athletic training, which is a master's degree program, which is now required to be an athletic trainer in the state of California. That's based at our main campus in Stockton. We have a clinical nutrition and a nutrition science program, two of the only kind of their type in the state. And then we have a entry-level master's of science that is open to students coming from any bachelor's degree background and allows them to get a master's leading to an RN licensing position. We also have occupational therapy doctoral program, as well as physical therapy and social work, as well as physician assistant and speech language pathology.
Amazing opportunities there. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, by the way, to get more information, how could they do that?
Very, very easily. I can definitely provide anybody who's interested in learning more about these programs. They can certainly come to the Pacific website at pacific.edu, or they can reach out to email me directly at mdaly, MDALY, at pacific.edu. I have one-on-one Zoom chats with prospective students every single day. And it's a great way for me to be able to find out what the needs and what the goals are of prospective students and see if one of our programs can help them reach those goals that they see for themselves.
So there you have it, friends. Some incredible resources for educators looking to teach abroad and for those preparing to go to graduate school. These organizations, again, they offer a wealth of information and support. So reach out to them and take that next step in your journey. Stay tuned because we have our final word segment from our inspiring guest, Mike Daly, who has experience with both teaching abroad and navigating graduate school admissions firsthand. Don't go anywhere. All right, and now as we get closer to wrapping up this enlightening episode, it's time for our final word segment. Mike, do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience?
We're all capable of much more than maybe we tell ourselves we are. And so I encourage everybody who has even a grain of a thought or an idea or desire to pursue something better for themselves, whether it's graduate education, whether it is planning a trip to the moon, to really go for it. You're capable of much more than maybe you've been led to believe or you tell yourself. Imposter syndrome is something that is experienced by the smartest, the brightest people that we know, but it is a creation that lives largely within our own minds. And we keep ourselves from a lot of things that we might otherwise be able to enjoy and experience and share with others. And so never let any kind of perceived barrier stop you from pursuing your dreams or even pursuing some adventure. You will usually be very well rewarded for stepping outside of your comfort zone and discovering more of what you're capable of.
Wise words indeed. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us today and sharing your experiences here on the Ed Talk.
Thank you.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Remember, the world, it is full of opportunities, as Mike said. So go out there and make the most of them. Be brave, be adventurous, and don't limit yourself. There's a big world out there, and there's a lot of incredible places and opportunities to explore, especially as you're looking to maybe go abroad as an educator or looking to improve your career by going into graduate studies. So again, don't be afraid to take those adventures, as Mike said. Until next time, keep inspiring and educating, and thank you for joining us here on the Ed Talk. we're uniting education's top thinkers and leaders. This is the Ed Talk, signing off. Have a good day.